Hello there, outliers. Niiamah Ashong here, and thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. I want to say that again. Thank you so much for letting me be a part of your journey. When I say me, I mean us, because today I'm here with an outlier that is going to rock your world. I can say that because here on the Outliers Edge podcast, we're really focused on bringing together people who are creating their vision of the future right here in reality. And one of the reasons why I'm so thrilled to have this outlier on here, not only for his own experience and the journey that he goes, but that he's had, but because a lot of us enter into this space knowing that we're working on something that is larger than ourselves. And to do that, we're making a transition from where we have been to where we're going. I feel like there's something in what our featured outlier here today, Donnie Adams, has to say, and the place that he specifically works in, that gives people a chance to start new beginnings by like really closing off some certain parts really well. And y'all, it's probably in a different way than you're thinking. So, so Donnie, I'm gonna tease that up here. It's an absolute pleasure to be in space with you. Why don't you bring yourself on and say hello to Outliers?
Hello, everyone. Donnie Adams with Advanced Business Broker. Super excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being here, Donnie. Donnie, I like to start off each conversation with just like what I get about you. Today, what I'm feeling is what excites me about you, Donnie. What excites me about you is I feel we can be real. I like and that you come from a place of both a genuine heart, but just like strong expertise in what you do. I know we'll spend some time in the expertise today, but like the person that you are is someone that I trust, and that's someone that like as soon as I saw you, I was like just huge smiles because it's like you you work in an area that can that like yeah, I just wanted to say like thank you for being the person that you are, and I'm really happy because you work in an area where like trust is super important, and it's really great to see that like you're there and you're able to bridge that here. We're just getting to know each other, but it comes through really strongly. So I wanted to say
Yeah, no,
like thank you for that.
I appreciate that.
Yeah, man. So, what I want to do is we're going to spend a lot of time today. Just I don't know where the conversation is going to go, but I want to give people the a context about you, right? And what I'll do is like we'll start at this context at the end, right? Just like help us see like what is it that you're creating right now? What is it that you do? Help us get a sense as to essentially you're talking to a bunch of outliers. I want to know like how you're living out your outlier right now. And then we'll go ahead and we'll dive into whatever else happens. This also gives us some more room to talk about you as a person, knowing that like you got the credibility behind it to play with it. So why don't you hit us up with the context of you, Donnie? Tell us a bit about you and how you're playing your outlier game.
No, absolutely. So currently I'm a business broker here in Houston, Texas. And so my job as a business broker is to work with business owners and helping them sell their business. And so a lot of times I'm working directly with the owners, the CEOs of these businesses, business partners, and really helping them with an exit strategy and helping get their business listed and on the market. And so I do that in various different ways by going through a business evaluation, understanding what the owner's looking to accomplish. And so a lot of times I'm meeting with owners who ran their business for like 15, 20, 30, 40, 50 years, right? And now they're looking at retirement, they're looking at kind of selling down and kind of cashing in all their chips. And so my job as a broker is to understand their end goal and then work with them as far as getting the correct valuation and then putting their business on the market. And then it doesn't stop there. It's also straightening out the right buyer, right? They just don't want to hand over the business to just any Joe Smo, right, that can run it into the ground. And so I work with them as far as straightening out buyers, meeting with buyers, and these buyers can come from all woodworks. It can be a strategic buyer, a financial buyer. It can be a PE firm, other entrepreneurs, other business owners. We work heavily in just working with different private equity firms and just trying to understand selling them correct businesses. And so a lot of the businesses I work with are typically doing over $1 million in revenue. That's typically our sweet spot. And so anything over $1 million to, I want to say between a million to between 50 million is our sweet spot where we work with business owners at. So.
It's awesome, Donnie, and I'm excited to have you on here for you, but also because of this area that you play in. Because here at Outliers, there's a lot of people who are very interested and driven by making an impact. And I have clients that come out that are like, I've done this type of work for a long time, and now I'm ready to go do the next thing, you know. Um, However, they've been they've built something, you know, they've owned a business that has been successful, but it's not what they want to continue doing. Right. So I'm excited to like dive in a bit on that kind of like that exit strategy component of it, just so like outliers that here have some uh something that they can grab onto. And then I'm really, really interested in like how you navigate it, where people run into challenges and and how you've been running through that. So let's start off here. Let's start off here with you first, right? Like tell me here, like, is this something that like you grew up and you're just like, yeah, this is my thing. Like I really can't wait to do this here. How did you get how did you get into this space? And like, and what is something, yeah, let me start off with that. I am just naturally curious. How did you get into this space?
Yeah, so that's a good point. So how did I get started as a business broker? So I even date back to I've always been a salesperson. I
Mhm.
went and say now I work more so as a business advisor, but I've always had a knack for just helping people. And I like to say that they always say I have the gift of gab, right? And the gift of gab is typically just being able to be good with your words, getting people to be able to convince people. And it's not a bad thing, right? It's really something that it took a while for me to understand what I had and understood that sales came to me naturally. And so even going back to my first job when I was 18 was selling knives, Cutco, selling Cutco
Yeah.
knives.
Oh, cut dines. Yes.
Yeah, I was 18 years old and I was able to finally work. And I was like, okay, I'm about to go get a job selling Cutco. I didn't know it was Cutco. I went into the interview and then they told me it was selling knives. And at first I was like, I need the money. It was my senior year in high school, so I got a job selling Cutco. And like within the first weekend, I sold. These are some expensive knives too, and
Mm-hmm.
I sold a knife set to my mom's friend because she cooked a lot, and I sold her a huge knife set, and it was like $1,000 knife set. And I did it my first weekend, and the next week they were like, "How did this guy sell $1,000 knife set on his like first couple of appointments?" And then all of a sudden I got promoted to like key staff. And at that point, I didn't know what that was, right? I didn't know like what it meant to be a salesperson because in my whole life I always thought, well, sales is just a low income job. The one, you talk a lot, shady. There's a lot of shadiness to it, and I kind of left it at that. And then so when I got to college, my senior year in college, I had this idea going into my senior year of someone was like, "Hey, you should be good at selling real estate," and I was like, "Real estate," and I was like, "Yeah, you're young, you got a great ambition, you got a great personality, you'd be great at selling," and so I ended up getting my real estate license and I got a job selling timeshare, which, if those who don't know, timeshare is probably one of the hardest things you can possibly sell. And it literally is getting your MBA in sales because people who go into timeshare presentations don't want to don't want to buy from you. They go in there, they're going in there for the time we offer like a 2 night stay vacation or $100 gift card. So these people come into these interviews, they're on vacation. I I went to school in Daytona Beach, so I'm doing this while I'm in college, and they're literally like don't want to buy from you. They just want their breakfast and their gift card, and you got to convince them to spend $90,000 to $100,000. So you have to be good with your words. And I learned quickly from the older guys. I came in at the lower tonal mode of the sales team and worked my way up to being the top third rep in rotation. And that was one of my biggest accomplishments. And I was only like 21 years old. And from that point on, I kind of knew, okay, I might have a little skill set here. And then after I finished that, I went on to sell cars. And then one of my customers said, "Hey, you are good. You ever thought about getting into tech sales?" And then tech sales selling to B2B businesses. And I was like, okay. I was nervous because I had been dealing with people for so long. I never thought about selling to companies. And I took the chance and got a role at a company called Level 3 Communications, which is now Lumen Technologies, selling telecommunications. And I tell you right now, that stuff is hard to sell. And it was my first time really not only being in a professional setting, a sales setting, but selling to businesses and going in, having to really understand the client's needs and do thorough discovery to really do that. And once I got comfortable selling to businesses, then I went on to sell different applications, software, all types of things, all to businesses. And eventually, I started my own business, and because I started an e-commerce business called Pameo.com, which was a home decor store, and I got into building up like the team. I working with like different contractors, working with folks in the Philippines and India and Pakistan, and just really building this business. And I really enjoyed it. And then once I sold it, I kind of was like, I like this process, and I started to look into the world of like private equity and venture capital, and look into that world. And then I came across someone put a crazy statistic in my head. They said baby boomers are retiring at a very high speed, and over the next 20 years, there's going to be $1 trillion worth of wealth that's going to be transferred over. And that statistic stuck to me. And they said they had these businesses, these boring businesses that our generation, millennials, don't want to take over. And I said, wow, if you understand the process of selling these businesses, you can make a fortune. And so I got into a program that basically taught you how to buy and sell businesses, mostly buy and really understand the evaluation process. And doing while I was in that course, I worked with different business brokers, and I was like, okay, I can do this. And it wasn't until like I think it was a happy hour. I met this guy, and he kind of told me like you should kind of just take the leap for it, and that's how I got in, and I just kind of took the leap and I became a broker. So.
It's so like it's so interesting how you ended that, Donnie. Like, and then like I just like now I'm just doing this thing, because like because you have me over here. I'm taking notes, and usually I might type
Yeah,
myself. Like I'm actually like physically writing here, so I'm like really absorbing what you're saying at a different level.
yeah.
A couple things stuck out to me as you were saying, as you were speaking. One of them was, how did this guy go and sell $1,000 worth of knives his first weekend in? You know, I actually am curious for you. I like you'll find in my space rhetorical questions don't stand, So
Yeah.
how did this guy being you, how did this guy sell like $1,000 worth of knives there? Like, what would you say if you had to look at like your track record of sales, but from like the first sale until now? What is something that you do that like has carried on with you all throughout that journey?
I
Or maybe it's
think
about who you be. Like, let me put it in that
I
context.
think the most important thing is people buy from people. No matter what product you have, I think you have to be personable. I think when I saw my first knife set, I had trust instantly built because I was my mom's. I was my it was my mom's best friend, so she knew me, right, and so it was easy trust established. She trusted me, and I think it's just me having that, being able to just relate to people. I think I kid you not, my interests are I'm interested in so many different things. I'm so curious about the world in general. I'm not ignorant to anything. I'm you should my music taste is just different types of music, from rock to not only R&B, rap, to pop music, indie, alternative music, you name it, it's on there. Same thing with movies. I'm interested in all types of movies, indie films, horror flicks, comedies. I mean, it goes along, and same thing. And I think when you have a wide range of interests, you can relate to different types of people. And as I found in my career, throughout my career, as I continue to sell, is my background is different than your background, right? But there's a commonality that you and I have, and it could simply just be the type of shirts we might like. It can be what do you like to eat? What's your favorite food, right? It could even be something as we related earlier about our skin complexion, right? It's just those things are, you got to realize everybody has something you have in common, and it's just identifying that. And I think throughout my career, I've always tried to find, no matter who I was talking to, whether they were older, younger, it didn't matter. I always tried to find commonality between me and them. And it's always being able to relate. And so that's, as a professional salesperson, you have to have that in order to really relate to your clients, because your clients are going to put you in situations and they're going to talk to you about so many different things. You got to be able to relate to them, and especially make people feel comfortable. And so I think I've done that so well because my interests are so wide that I could talk to someone about The Godfather. I could talk to someone about the Eternal Spotlight of the Sunshine Mind, right? I could talk to them about, recent awards or the Academy Awards. And it's just like you go through different ideas of just being able to communicate. And I think that's what I've gotten good at is just understanding people. And when you understand people, people can relate that and people can tell that you have a good heart. And when you do that and you establish that trust, the sale really at that point it becomes easy because now you at this point you got trust with them, and it doesn't matter what you're selling because instantly you have to be able to like the salesperson, and then after that it comes down to really just making sure you understand their needs, asking the right questions, understanding what they're trying to solve. You got to put yourself in your client's shoes. When I meet with business owners, it's understanding, what's a win for you in this business? And is it, passing it down and continuing it or growing it? Is it shutting it doors or do you merging it with another company? I try to relate in so many ways and aspects. And I think that's what's been my strength over the last, decade I've been in sales is just really being able to relate to any and everybody. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. I'll find something to be in common with, But typical things you could always say just to kick things off is the weather. Everyone, the weather is always a good talking point. Weather, how was your weekend? Did you do anything? But an instant way, a little trick that you can do too, and a thing that I've done in my career is when you meet someone, you tell them a story right away. And I think what it does is it breaks the ice and the tension because you ever met people, and you know this, you ever meet someone and you instantly feel like this person's my best friend already. And it's just a connection that you have with them, right? And you do that by just telling them a story. Hop on, if you hop any meeting I go into, you talk about, oh, the traffic on the way here was crazy. Funny story. One time I was in traffic and this lady almost hit me, and you just go into this detail, and I think you just go into this detail, and what it does is it breaks the ice so much because it's telling you something personal about you up front, and it establishes such a good, genuine trust with people. And people don't understand that matters because you can go in there and say, "Hey, how's it going? I'm Donnie, so on for how's it going?" But if you go in there, you ever meet someone right when you see them, they tell you something that happened in the day or something, just something instant. And I think telling the story right away breaks the ice immediately because now you feel comfortable that this person is this is a relatable person. This is a human being, and I do that all the time. Every meeting, just tell them a story, and it breaks the ice. Everyone. So.
All right, so we got some good things here, Donnie. I appreciate where like I love listening to you because I also get a chance to like listen underneath too. So like you're gonna hear me like hear everything that you're saying, and I may
Yeah.
not comment on it, but it's not because I'm not listening, it's because I'm really listening, right?
Yeah.
So some elements here that really that got me, and I feel like I want to put this out here for any outliers that are listening like that are like, okay, I have an eclectic background, like really think about people who are in transition that are like looking to find like what's their product market fit. Like, will anyone trust me in this? Will anyone like I've been known in one area, but like how can I go into something else here? I want to like just call it like how you use your interests, your varied interests, your varied experiences to your advantage. You're not like, okay, well, like I don't know if they're gonna like XYZ, but you just like I feel as you talk that there's a 100% confidence in knowing that you will find something for the two of you to relate on, you know. And I think there's just something in there I want to just call out here, outliers. If there's any of you that's like wondering like, but who am I to bring this in here? Where would it go? And like, we talk about like, and this is another thing I want to point out about something you do, Donnie, that I think I get. We talk about putting ourselves out of our comfort zone and taking the steps to not just move forward, but actually to level up, right? And when that level up happens, it's like, all right, well, if I enter into a room and I no longer know anyone, or like, like what, like how, like who will take me seriously? And I feel like there's something that you do, which is like you tell the story, you find the thing to relate to, whatever it is, but you can enter any room. I don't see there being rooms that Donnie can't enter,
Yeah.
right? And I see and I say this here because I've seen you. You told us here about how many different rooms you've been jumping into, from knives to like changing up to doing what is it? Um cars, and then from cars to tech sales, and from tech sales, like you just
Yeah,
keep changing rooms, like you're like,
yeah,
all right, now I'm going to be in a room with the broker. Like, I guess I could do that too. I get that sense, Donnie. It's like it's part of the reason why I asked, how did this guy sell this? It was almost like, who is this guy to sell, the $1,000 in the first week? And it's like, it's the same guy that decided, yeah, you know what? I'll be a business broker too. You can sell that. You can sell these things. Apparently that works too. I'll sell that too. Before I go on, I'm going to bring back some things here, but like, how does that sound as I
yeah. No,
reflect
I
on
think
that?
you hit it right on the head. I think it is
I can see
to
you
me.
smiling here, Donnie.
No, I'm laughing because a lot of people, my friends say all the time. They say, uh, they all have good jobs and all and so forth. They're always like, well, Donnie gets paid just to talk to people,
Yeah,
and it's a little bit more than just talking to people, right? But
yeah.
it's
No, it's a lot more. Like realistically,
yeah,
because I apologize, Donnie, for interrupting, but I heard you say like the amount of preparation you do, the amount of like listening that you do in order to make sure you're hearing their needs, to like really understand and research. You have to go and watch a lot of things. Like for your style, like you have to be learned. I like using that thing. You have to be
yeah,
learned and learned about a lot of different things, so that no matter who comes across your world, you have something. There's no, like, you have built a skill set and experiences, and across a wide variety of things to come in. So I know that you know this, but I'm going to speak it out here, so that you know that you are being witnessed in the amount of work that you do in order to make it look so easy.
yeah. I appreciate that. I always say I make it look easy, but it's definitely a lot of work. But
Yeah.
it's a natural gift, and I think it goes back to finding your purpose too.
Mm.
I think I never realized I was good at sales until maybe uh, recently. I don't know. Maybe if
Mm.
maybe I wouldn't even say recently. It's not so much recently. I think it's really maybe a few years ago. I want to say that it really hit me
I got
that
to
I
ask a
was
question about this then, right? And I'm still going to come back to some other things you had here, but like you
yeah.
said, you didn't realize that you were good at sales. What did you think you were doing beforehand as you were like having success in this career? Like what would you how would you classify in that compared to like being good at this?
I think one of the most important things for me was feeling like I wanted to. I was obviously great. I wanted to make money, right? And I think sales is the fastest way where you want to earn. So besides money being my initial focus, um, I knew that I just didn't want. I knew early on. I knew I wanted to work for myself, and I knew enough to say. And even when I had co-founded a startup, and so when I was chief growth officer at a tech company, and I was meeting with my co-founders, and I was able to. We got the first couple customers on board, and I was setting those meetings up, and I was building those relationships that some people just don't have that gift, that extra things that you need to get something over the top, right? And I think for me, a lot of people do this. I do talk a lot, right? But I also listen a lot. And so it's like you have to balance the person because if you do meet me sometimes, I come off very reserved. I could be in a room and I could be very reserved. I can be very quiet. I don't say much sometimes, and but I can listen. And then when I am given an opportunity to talk, oh, I could talk, right? But it's also just understanding that a lot of people meet me and just say, oh, he's very reserved. I'm a very reserved guy in person. I really don't. I talk, but I don't talk a whole lot. You don't think I'm blabbering. I'm not the loudest person in the room, but I am very observant in my surroundings and around the people I'm interacting with, and I pay attention to that. And so it goes back to like again having the ability of some people just don't know how to formulate things or structure things, and I think it was just a natural gift that I worked on too. So I'm giving you a part that like it's a lot of training too, a lot of books I've read, a lot of things understanding psychology, understanding people, how to make decisions, and it's all those things build up into constantly being perfecting your craft. So it's not like I'm just getting on the phone saying I haven't trained a day in my life. I read books. I've already read this year. I've already read 12 books about business. The last book I read, I finished, is a book about marketing, and that and some of the key things I took out of it was perception, and it can be perception of how you perceived to the marketplace and how a product is perceived. Last book I read, another book I read was survival, deep survival. And this book isn't even, it's a business, it's not even really a business book. But it was recommended to read for my personal MBA book. But the book talks about people who have experienced uh, life-threatening events and how they got out of them and how they survived, and what makes the difference between someone who dies in a life-threatening event and someone who survives. And how you relate that to business and sales? Well, because business is all a mindset, and some people truly don't understand that your mind controls every aspect of everything you do. And after a while, once I started selling, I knew you in sales you hear no so much to the point where it becomes numb to it, because you want to hear that yes, because all you need is that one yes. When I meet with, a lot of times to get one listing, I meet with various business owners, and then you have to go through various valuations, and then out of those valuations you might get one listing. But that one listing it's a pretty nice size deal, right? But a lot of people don't have the mental discipline to take rejection on a daily basis. They don't have that mental discipline to kind of keep going, and they sit there and say, "Why can I get results?" I'm the type of person where I'm just going to keep work. I'm going to keep trying to find a way. And I think as an entrepreneur, you need those skill sets, because I've learned, even working, I learn from my clients every day of what it took to build a business. And it's crazy because we live in a world today where everything instant gratification, where everyone wants everything instant, and that's not the case. Yeah, I make it look easy, but you don't see the last 10 years of trying to figure this out. You don't
Yeah.
see the nights of reading, studying, and reading the book, watching videos, going to conferences, spending my last little bit of money just to go learn something, or taking a chance on yourself, or spending everyone out on summer vacation, and I'm out selling timeshares. Like, they don't see that. So it's a constant growth thing, and it's just constantly perfecting my craft. And it all comes down to one thing: passion. You have to have passion behind what you do. I have a passion for sales. I have a passion for business. I can talk about business all day, every day, because I don't look at it like boring work. It's mundane. I look at business like it's fun. It's literally, I wake up and I like making money, and so I can talk about it day in and day out.
All right, so like Donnie, as time goes on, we should keep talking because I've really been having fun with the game of business here.
Yeah, yeah,
I
yeah,
like I want to keep leveling up, but
yeah,
like I'm actually starting to be like, oh, this can really be fun. So I want to pull out a couple things in here and outliers. I'm going to be talking to you right now, right? So and Donnie, as I do this, I'm going to be reflecting a bit on some of the things you put in here, right?
yeah,
Because what I love about my space is it's how we have the conversation that's just as important as to what conversation we're having. And so outlines what I want to call out here, something that struck me about what Donnie said here was the way that he owned what he's done. You know, he's like I like from the books that he's read to the even just the way that you framed selling timeshares while I was on vacation. Like it put it into perspective here. And my invitation for you outliers is a couple things. Donnie's gift, he knows it, right? He knows his gift, and he's chosen the pathway that what I've heard from you is like basically since you were 18 years old at the very least, right? Probably a lot earlier. It's probably what got you into sales anyway. I've sat in a Cutco knife interview and I decided
yeah,
not to go do it.
yeah,
It's
yeah,
like it's cool to see it. It's good to see but like you've been honing this skill. You've had the gift of gab and you've turned it into like, how do I take it from being something that is just words to something that can be lucrative for me and the people that work with me, right?
right.
So I want to invite you outliers right now to like take a look for yourself. Like, what is your gift? What's the gift that you have? What's the gift that you've been honing like all the time? The gift people might be like, why don't you just come out with us? And you're doing something, something that just like spending your time on. What is that gift for you, Donnie? I see some like nodding here, so let me open
Yeah.
up to you. I might bring out some more things for outliers, but I want to open up to you first. I feel like it'd be good to do that.
Yeah, no, I think it's important to find your gift. I
Yeah.
think we all, I've come to terms with this, that the that people, all of us have a role we play in this world. And whether that's being a great father, whether that's being a great mother, whether that's great being a great admin assistant. We all have something that we're good at. And I feel like everyone is made of so many different things that everyone can't be LeBron James. Everyone can't be a 6'5", you know, uh, point guard to go to the NBA or go play overseas. Everyone can't be, you know, the next Webby, right? Everyone has to find their niche. And it's some people might say maybe it's my job to be a good father, right? I don't have kids yet, but maybe it's me to raise a great family. And I think what took me so long, or maybe it's someone wanting to be a good mother. We all have something that God has given us the ability to do, and I think you have to find that thing. Because where I'm strong at, for me in business, I'm weak in other areas, right? And so those are the things that you have to find. I realize there's no such thing as a perfect person. I think you have to find out what are you're good at, and I think what you have to do is you have to do it really really well. And I think when you find that thing you do really really well, you just hone in on it and lock in on it and train exceptionally on it. I think when you know that, and that's what I found is I found, I had a gift of learning how to convince people to do things or buy things, and I just kind of honed in on it, and still I'm working on it. I still train and still look at things and still constantly learn. And I think that's what you got to find, is just finding that purpose. And it's some people, they might not never find it. And it's not because they don't want to, it's maybe it wasn't meant for them to find it. Maybe they were meant to be an inspiration for someone to find their purpose, right? You look at a lot of unfortunate kids that grew up with, certain parents and, drug dealers. And maybe it was that environment was supposed to be that environment to give them the strength to go be another successful entrepreneur. You know,
I love this here, Donnie. And Alex, I want you to play with this. I want you to play with it for yourself here. As you were saying, you're talking about like finding your gift. What was coming to me as you're saying, it's kind of like it was intuitively over and over again. It was like free your gift, right? Like because when I talk to you, I feel like you just decided to unleash, man. Like, like we're talking about the work that you did in it, but like somewhere in the past, you knew I know you knew this because you told us. You said, I've always been told I had the gift of gab, you know? Like somewhere in there, you said, and I'm gonna unleash this. I'm not gonna, this is not a negative, this is not a thing I have to hide on it. I was like, I'm gonna go all in on this. And Atlas, I'm going to invite you here. I want you to just think here that some time has gone by in the conversation, but I want you to think about where we started with Donnie, and like he was just telling about like being a business broker, and then find out more about the work that he's done in sales, like his entire journey, right? And then think to when he started really owning the amount of work that he did to get there, right? And this isn't like Donnie, you can take this in for you here, but like Alex, I want you like I'm going to give you a quest, something that you can do right now. Like here, you can pause this, you can come back to this here, but I would love for you to go over the last 2 decades, really just look at it and just say, like, what have I done to invest in myself to get to the place that I'm at right now? Like I've done this exercise in the past. I've counted how much money I've spent there. I forget what the updated like number is, but it's well over six figures to get to where I'm at right here. And not alone the time and all this stuff that has come along with it. And I will tell you after that, because I feel this with you, Donnie, your level of conviction and self-trust and self-knowledge and self-confidence is there because you have done the work. You have done that. You know what's it, and you're still doing it. And I feel right now there's a part of me that just wants to like speak to that outlier that is like on the cusp of their gifts, that might even be externally successful, but realizes that like inside they're still only doing 30-40% of what they know that they're actually capable of because they haven't even tapped into their gifts yet. I want to put this into place here to give us some space to take inventory. And the reason I asked you to think back to the difference as you were hearing more about the work that he put in was to see like how did that impact you? How did that make you feel in terms of like both your own credibility and the credibility that Donnie had in your eyes, and to realize like the gift, and I will use that word again, but the gift that you give us by letting us know the work that you've put into this. Like I get like I used to just ask people when we started Donnie, I'd be like, tell me about your story or tell me about your background. And we would go on different journeys. It would tell me things. But I realized, like, for me, I'm like, I want people to understand, like, you are the LeBron James of what you do for some person, right? You are that person right now. You're playing in a different arena, you're playing a different game, you
Yeah.
know, but like, you're not messing around. And you do your practices and you do your thing in there.
Yeah.
And I just really want to capture that there. Do you have any thoughts on that before we move on?
Yeah, no, I think um it's all about not only putting in the time and energy into your craft,
Yeah.
but it requires extreme focus.
Mm.
And I think you have to kind of double down on it and really lock in. And you got to be locked in. I think now that I'm older, I'm 30, but you just learn to lock in and you realize what's important and what's not important. And you just kind of have the self realization about yourself and saying, you know what, I think this is what I'm meant to go do. I don't think, and it fills you. You know, over the last decade, I've I started the podcast, right? The Brilliant Ones podcast, where I sat down with entrepreneurs and interviewed them. And I've learned incredible things doing that process, and I'm thankful for the opportunity. Um, and I've, like I mentioned before, co-founding a startup, to leading a, working like was a lead sales at a tech startup, uh, getting fired. I mean, and really, I've had my trials and tribulations for sure, and I know there's more to come. But I think I read in a book that you have to turn your worst experience into your biggest asset.
Nice, nice.
And I think that's what it is I get dealt the same cards and just turning whatever obstacle that comes my way and turning it into this is a win. And I think even going back to even deciding to become a broker
Yeah.
and understanding like what it takes to get there, it's tough. But
Yeah.
you just have that. You got to have that mental and attitude, and you got to look at things and say, you know what, I'm just going to go through it because this is all I got, and I can bet on myself. And I think you have to bet on yourself.
Oh yeah, dude. Like not only that, but I feel like you also have, if you don't mind, like I feel like you have your processes to like keep making bets, right? Because you keep entering different rooms and outliers. I'm gonna now share a bit of like the what I'm seeing Donnie do over and over again. Donnie, you let me know like how accurate this is. But I
Yeah,
want you, like, while I'm doing this with Donnie, I want you to be thinking about it for yourself to be like, what's my path, right? So there's nothing in here is like this is the way to get it done. I just want to call out like we do this. That's one of the benefits I have of talking to people and hearing their journey. I'm like, oh, you've been doing the same thing over and over and over and over again, and this is how you're able to keep leapfrogging, right? Two or three things that I heard from you, if you don't mind me sharing about your journey. Are you open to me sharing that right now with you?
yeah. Go ahead.
Okay. So two to three things I heard from the very first weekend that you sold those knives there was that like you make sure that you get access to like people like that you get access to people like in the right ways, right? People with either the skill set that you want or the people with like the buying power that you want, right? So
Right.
like you're like, yeah, it was my mom's best friend. And I think some people might hear it like, well, yeah, it was his mom's best friend. It's like people don't just drop $1,000 on a kid that they like just because they're like of friendships, you know? It's not like it doesn't it's like I know we all have like our parents have best friends, but I don't think like they're just gonna be dropping 1,000 on us.
Yeah, no.
Well, just even to boost their self-confidence. I'm like, but at $1,000, like you're like you're
Yeah.
like um but what I like some things I'm hearing is I'm like, oh, because I saw as you were talking about every single step of the way that you're going, it was surrounding yourself with people who were doing big things and learning from them, or like or and like being with them and like gaining from that experience together. And so when I heard the mom's best friend thing, I like it felt to me that there was an element of you that also like was discerning in how in like who you went to, and then we're able to translate that into something major because it's like at that level you want to buy the knives,
Yeah, at
for
that
whatever
yeah, at that
whatever.
level you want to buy the knives.
Yeah.
But she also really liked cooking, and I knew that she liked cooking, and
Mhm.
I knew that she had bad knives. Well, the Cookco knives are really good knives though.
Yeah.
They're like super sharp and they're really
Oh
good
yeah.
knives. Um, and because it was funny because that same weekend my mom brought a knife. My mom brought one knife, and And it's I think it comes down to really, again, going back to my point of just understanding your listening and understanding what's important to your client. You know, your the buyer, what's important to you. Do you like cooking? Do
Love
you
it.
not like cooking? How much do you cook? Do you cook once a week? Do you cook every day? Do you host a lot of cookouts? I mean, there's so many, there's so many ways I had to numb it. My mom's best friend, they do a lot of cookouts. And so they do a lot of cookouts, they do a lot of grilling. So it only made sense for them to buy one of the largest knife sets. And
Yeah.
that's what kind of I presented it to her, right?
Yeah.
And it just appealed to her.
Yeah.
But even going into selling cars to going to selling technology, stepping away from stepping away from people and selling to businesses, it's a whole different game. It's the same strategies, but it's a little different because now you're not just talking to a person, you're talking to a company, and you got to influence that company and understanding that your solution, your software, whatever I'm selling is a benefit to them, and it's going to allow them to reach their strategic goals. So it goes back to understanding their strategic goals that they're looking to accomplish. And now, even as a broker, it's it's understanding, meeting with the CEO and meeting with the business owner to understand their strategy of what do they see. Do they want to, spend more? A lot of these business owners don't get to spend a lot of time with their family because they're working so much, right? Is that important to you? Why is it so important to you? What would buying that time back do for you over the next few years? What does retirement look like, right? What does, have you thought about exiting? How does it make you feel? How, you think you can really leave the business behind and trust it in someone else's hand? A lot of people can't let things go. How does, and it's just dealing into that emotional side. So I think one thing I learned, you learn this in timeshare, because people in timeshare don't want to buy it all, is emotion really drives the sale. And you justify emotion with logic. So it could be going to school. All my friends got all the latest Jordans. I don't got the Jordans. I feel some type of way, right? I feel kind of sad about it. Now, when I finally get some money, I'm going to go buy a nice pair of Jordans so I can fit in. There's an emotional connection there. So people buy things based on emotion and they justify with logic. And that's what we learned in timeshare, is honing in on the fact that, when was the last time you took a vacation? When was the last time you got the family together like this? And you don't even ask that to the dad, because the dad's usually the one that's working. You ask it to the mom. Now it has been a while because he works so much. How does that make you feel? When was the last time you all came here and just had this time away? And then you also, to sell them on the resort, you say, I mean, you all could have went to Las Vegas. You all could have took a honeymoon together. Not a honeymoon, but you guys took your own trip together. Why'd you bring the kids? Why'd you guys come down to Daytona Beach? Why'd you guys come to this presentation? Well, we want to make $100. I mean, what did you plan on doing with $100? Take the family out to eat. So it's just, again, justifying it, just tapping on those emotions. How would it feel to just be here and experience this a couple times a year? you know, and it all comes down to, it's just your tonality and how you precision things too. It's also sympathize. It's not just running your mouth. It's sometimes saying, you know, if you had, to go anywhere in the world, where would you go? Who would you bring with you? Why?
It's cool hearing you say this here, Donnie. We're about to start wrapping up overall, but like I do want to speak a little bit to like the exit strategy stuff, because I think there's some outliers out here that would really like want to
Yeah.
get some of that part in there. Um, but I want to just call out, and this is going to be interesting because I'm going to talk about exit strategy. If you have an exit strategy, you've already figured out some of these parts. So I
Yeah.
get the dichotomy of what's taking place here. But um, as I was hearing you speak, a lot of people who listen to this are like, they're coaches. They're looking to they're business owners that are looking to get their business going. Or like, and a lot of people are like, I struggle with sales, right? And what was interesting to me was that like, and no, like, interestingly enough, like everything you're doing was just being curious about the person and really trying to understand like, what is it that you actually want? Great.
Yeah.
Like,
That's it.
and it's interesting because it's like, because I find it's there's an element of like, I hear this, I'm like, oh, that's all you're like, that's, even when I think about coaching myself, sometimes I'm just like, what is it does the person want? Like, let's just go get that. And like, and they may think that there's one way to get it, but like, I have the awesome happenstance of knowing more than they do that there's other ways, including this one, you know? And so I would recommend outliers, if you need to go back, you use some AI to like capture the questions that were used that came up in this that they just brought in here. But more than anything else, like understand like the heart, like the why behind it. And I felt like at the end of the day, you're like, yes, you came here for $100, but like $100, but that $100 was meant. There's easier ways to get $100. There's other places like, so what was
Yeah,
underneath all of these things here? And
yeah,
go in beneath the surface. And I wanted to like I've seen it for myself when it comes to enrolling clients, and then also enrolling clients, not just to get the dollar through the door, but to enroll the clients that like we have the greatest successes with, because we've taken the work to dive below the surface and get to what really matters for them, so that we can go and do the fun, cool, difficult, challenging, rejection oriented type of work that will get them the real like thing that they want. So, Donnie, I'm going to leave room for the exit strategy portion here if you're good with us spending just like 5 minutes on this afterwards. But anything else you want to say to anything I just put in right now?
No, I think the importance is, as you know, you build your business or your brand and identity. I think it's important to understand, as you building it, build it with the idea that whether you want to run your business forever or so or not, there's going to come a time where you might be burned out or you might want to do something else. So you might need to pivot, right? And it's just understanding as you build your business or your brand. Um, it's just setting up systems and processes that you can make seamless and transition to someone else should you decide to sell one day.
Okay,
And
that I like where this is going here. Go ahead.
yeah.
What you add? I don't want to.
Oh no, but that's pretty much like what I was saying. It was just understanding that as you build your business, your brand, just look at those things, and a lot of us just start building, and we don't have an exit in mind, right? And I tell you right now, at the highest level, especially when you're selling $1 million businesses, it's having an exit strategy is important because you don't want all your hard work to be in vain, right? You want to make sure you put this together. You want it to live on, and that's all. Most business owners, that's what they're looking to do, is continue to live on. That's why a lot of folks pass their business over to their kids, right? So again, it goes back to understanding that, like, when you start something, always begin with the end in mind, right? And always think, okay, what I'm looking to go, do I want to sell this for 10 million, 15 million, 20 million? Do I want to just do this as a side hustle and just kind of continue to work my day job, right? Figure that out. But as you continue to build your brand, your business, just build systems, build processes. Don't rely on just yourself to know the information. Train someone else to know it just as much as you do. So that way, if you were to leave the business tomorrow, you have a manager, a supervisor in place that can run your business for yourself. I've seen it happen a lot of times where a key employee knows all the information, everyone else is left in the dark, or the owner does all the work and they don't know how to transition everything over because they're stuck in their ways. So it's important that you train everyone to be not only great employees, but to be able to run your business without you.
Oh man, we're gonna have some fun because as you're talking, like I find myself being like, Donnie, I want to get into this with you. Maybe we'll have another conversation around this,
Yeah, yeah, for
around
sure.
that part in particular, because outliers, I made a choice here. My stance is I come to you for your expertise. I come to you for your experience, not your expertise. Now I want to know about your expertise in here because it just seems like a really fun conversation. Um, but what I really think we'll do here is we'll wrap this conversation. We'll wrap this conversation for this part right here. Outliers, let me know if you want me to bring Donnie on, and we'll have another conversation. You let me know what questions you want me to ask. And one of the things I would say right now is that, like, yeah, I waited a bit long to do this, but y'all get that Donnie knows what he's talking about, and you get his heart. So my thing right here is, like, if there's anyone that you feel like would benefit from listening to this conversation here with Donnie, hearing what he has to say, hearing the conversation that's here, my answer is just like, don't keep it to yourself. Let them know. Share the gift. Go ahead and share this episode with them. And I'm not like, you don't have to share it with your whole world. Like, honestly, pick one person. If, like, just pick one person out there that you're like, hey, I think you have a gift. And when I listen to this person, this is someone who has gone through the journey of honing that gift and keeps doing it. I just think that if you listen to this episode, it would mean a ton to you. Or, hey, I know you've done a lot with your business and you're looking for the next thing and you've been asking yourself, how does this go? Come listen to this guy. My ass outliers is that if there's I want you to think of one person that you'd love to share this episode with, and go ahead and do that, and and go from there. Donnie, anything you want to say there? And then I'm also going to, like, just make sure that outliers know how they can continue the journey with you.
No, I think that you hit it right on the head. I mean, I'm definitely willing to help anybody that's willing to reach out. Offer any advice,
Yeah.
and I'll
Yeah.
just offer just again just being a resource. That's all I'm here to do. Is just be a resource for information. I might not have the answer, but I can definitely help you find out.
Yeah,
So
this is cool. This is like I realized I'm like I want to go 5 minutes into the exit strategy stuff, and then you started talking more, and I was like, no, this guy just knows too much for 5 minutes, and it's not going to do it justice. But instead, what I think would do justice is and it's going to give you more justice in the part two that we'll have, right? But what it really gives justice is to make sure that outliers know how they can get into a conversation with you. For any outlier out there that right now is like, hey, I want to talk about my exit strategy. I'm in it, and I think that in the next 3 to 5 years, next 1 to 2 years, whatever it is, like I want to get out, or I'm in a place right now where I think I can sell this thing, but I want to make sure that I have my ducks in a row so I can actually get my business sold. What's the best way for them to continue the journey with you, Donnie?
um yeah, email. Feel free to email me at Donnie at advancedbb.com.
Is that advanced with a D at the end or advance?
Advanced with a D, like
Okay.
advanced BB.
Yeah.
So Donnie at advancedbb.com. My website is advancedbusinessbrokers.com. Well, advancedbb.com.
Nice,
So,
nice, nice.
and then also you can find me on LinkedIn, Donnie Adams, business broker here in Houston, Texas.
Perfect, perfect. And we'll be connected as well. So like I want to thank you, Donnie. Here, the two ways I like to end the conversation is to ask. The two ways I end it are more focused on you, right, and the experience that you got from this. So the first thing here is like, what's one insight? What's one thing that you either remembered about yourself or something that popped in that was meaningful for you in this conversation?
That I am that I constantly keep learning. I
Absolutely.
constantly keep challenging myself. That was kind of idea because I went from selling knives to selling software to working with big Fortune 500 companies, selling them solutions to now I'm selling big companies. It doesn't surprise me now. So
Yeah, I would like. I love that. It doesn't surprise you, and I can't wait for us to be talking in like a decade or so. You're like, well, now I'm selling these things out here, and I'm like,
yeah,
and it's
now
like,
I know right now I don't know what else. What I don't know what to do after companies though. I think at the
yeah, yeah,
companies
yeah.
it's like,
Well,
what else can I go sell? I don't know.
trust me, you'll figure it out, right? Because you always have,
Yeah,
and
yeah, always
that
have.
I
Yeah.
believe in. That actually ties really well with the last question I asked, which is the time capsule question. And in the time capsule question, it's a message that you leave for yourself right now. You yourself leave right now for a future version of you. I like to say about 10 years now. So this is probably the 10, like the Donnie that is thinking about, well, where else might I go with this, or how might I level this up with what I'm doing? What's a message that you want to leave with the wisdom that you have in this moment that you may want to remind yourself of in 10 years?
Keep challenging yourself, keep growing, and take it as far as you can take it. It just is no limits, no limit at all. Don't no limit to yourself. Just take it as far as you can. Scare yourself. Put yourself in rooms that you've never been in before. Talk to people you never talked to before. Learn things that you never learned before. Just be scary. Be scared, be uncomfortable, and take it as far as you humanly can
With
till you
that
can't
done,
more.
with that down, we will conclude for today. Thank you so much for being such a gracious and
No,
generous
appreciate
like
it.
guest here, man. Like
No,
it's been
thank you.
awesome being in space with you. Thanks for playing here. I'm looking forward to all that you create and another part two of this conversation sometime.
Cool. Thank
All
you.
right. Thank you.
Appreciate it.